Hello everyone and welcome back to our tab targeting system series. In part 2 we are going to add on our cycling mechanic so we can cycle between different targets by using the tab key over and over again. So let's get started. Okay, so last time we were here we managed to get them to target the closest actor, but it won't cycle around the different actors if we stand still, okay, which is what we want to do. So the way this works is we're going to go back into our player controller and we're going to keep track of which targets we've currently looked at before, and we want to remove them from the possible candidates that we can use to target. So in our variables here, we're going to make a new variable, and this would be recently targeted, and this would be an array of actors. Okay, and on the target actor function we made previously, after we set current target, we're going to take recently targeted and add it to that list. To add unique, I'll get in like so. Okay, so now we're keeping track of which ones we're targeted. So how do we actually use this? Well, that comes back to the targeting net. So the net has to know when to let go of a particular target based upon whether or not they are part of that list. So for order to do that, on my get targets in range function, we're going to get the player controller, and in there I want to cast to my player controller. Now we have to cast to it because we need it to be our specific actor in order to set that variable on there. So from there, we'll promote that to a variable. So it is there, ready for us to use. So speaking of that, let's go into the for each loop. And we're looking at after the first branch, and after we add to our targets in range. So we still want to keep this array. The reason why we want to keep this array is our backup array. This is all the actors in range, regardless of not whether we've seen them or targeted them before or not at all. Okay, but we also want to keep track of a second list. This is the ones that haven't been targeted recently at all. So let's go down to targets in range and duplicate it, and do fresh targets in range. Now you've got a fresh targets in range. We want to check to see whether or not the one we're currently looking at in the for each loop is part of the recently targeted list. So if we take out our player controller, and from there we can get our recently targeted, and with an array there's a function called contains item, and if we plug in any item into there, it will check whether or not it's actually part of that array, giving us this boolean here. This boolean here will go into another branch at the end. So I want this one in particular to not be true, i.e. false in this branch. So you can either not boolean it and go to true, or just leave it come up for false. Either way, totally fine. So if it is false and it does not contain that one at all, we want to add it to the fresh targets in range. Get this, add unique, and we're going to add it to this array here. Now we want to know which array we want to return. We don't want to check both arrays or just one of them every single time. We need to know which one we're looking at, and the only way we know which one we're looking at is if fresh targets in range is empty. So if there is no more targets left, we're going to recycle back to the beginning and select the targets in range here. So at the bottom here on the completed, you're going to drag in your fresh targets in range, and you're going to check to see if this is empty. It's empty, and that'll be in a branch there. If this was empty, we are going to then clean up our players recently targeted list. We'll take the player controller reference out, get the recently targeted, and you want to clear it. We then want to put in our return node that we previously had, which was outputting the old array, the normal one. That's fine. However, if this is not empty, we want to output this one, the fresh one. So I'm going to take my return node here, copy it to my false branch, and I'm going to plug in my fresh targets and range into that as well. File and save that. Okay, so now let's take a look at that, how this is going to fit into our scene. I'll push play to my character, hit tab, pick this one, hit tab again, pick the next one, hit tab again, pick the file one. Now, because all three of them have now made that list, it's going to detect that that list is now empty when we push tab again, and therefore it's going to recycle it and go back to the beginning, like so. So now we can tag round. Now, one thing that you may want to do is clear the whole list after a certain amount of time. So if I'm running around fighting him, for example, and I push tab, I don't maybe go over there. I want it to go to the closest one. So we're going to set up a timer to clear that. Also, we're going to make out a targeting array, targeting area, have a very short lifespan, so it disappears quickly. So let's do that first. We go to targeting net, go to class defaults, and search for life. And initial lifespan here, we're going to set to 1 second. Don't need long at all. That'll do just fine. So next thing we'll do is go over to our player controller and set up the timer so it clears the recently targeted list after a certain amount of time. So we're going to go to our event graph over here, and we're going to do something called a retriggerable delay. What this does is it will delay the node going on further, but if it gets called again within a certain range of time, then it will just start the delay timer again. So the duration of this will be whatever you want to do, but I'm going to do like 3, for example. And if it is 3, I'm going to tell it to clear clear the recently targeted. First, clear the recently targeted. But then I will still want to make sure I plug in the current target into recently targeted there. So we just take this and do add unique and add in the current target there. But maybe you want to only do this if this is actually valid. So let's just be safe, convert that to validated get, and plug that in like so. That way it's only going to do it if we actually have a current target. If we don't have a current target, no point in adding it to that array anymore. Okay, so we're going to clear it and then add our current target back into it. So if I was to tab here, here, and let's say I'll pick on this one, wait 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3. That recent list would have gone, and therefore if I push tab again, it'll pick the next closest one, which is actually there. So previously it was going round and round and round in one direction. Now it can go around the other direction. Okay. And there we have it. And there we go. We can now cycle between our various valid targets on our screen. In the next episode, we're going to go through and add in the fancy camera work that goes along with tab targeting. So changing the camera angle based upon who we are currently looking at. You can watch the next episode right now over on patreon.com/Ryan Leddy, where all my videos are available early for all Patreon members. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribed, and I'll see you next time. Bye everyone.